You know, my only prayer, I don't do a lot of praying, but I do a lot of thinking. I think we have a lot to be thankful for, all of us, for these have been tough times in a lot of ways with the COVID and for politics and just everything, storms. We're blessed here. We've really been blessed. So for that, I give thanks every day, and hopefully we continue with our good luck and thank God for that. We're especially blessed to have such a great club, and I do give thanks for that also. Thank you.
Well done.
I'll say amen.
Pam, membership.
Okay, all right. We have 2 new members in this past month, and I see Lori is here tonight. Lori, if you can unmute yourself for a second.
Hey, y'all.
Okay. We'd like to know a little bit about your photography and also how you found out about us.
Okay, so I bought a 35 millimeter film camera, kind of in the late 90s, and kind of did a little bit off and on, wasn't spending a whole lot of time with it, and then got a digital camera when I started having kids. And so now I have a Canon T3i. It's kind of old, but still serviceable. And I've added a couple of lenses here and there. So I kind of go through phases. When I have time to work on it, I do, and then it'll get busy. I've got 4 kids, so I kind of fit it in between all their stuff.
Right. Well, how'd you find out about us?
I was looking on the web for photography in Kingwood and came on the website.
Right. Well, we're glad that you joined us. And, you know, we do a lot of activities. We do have a lot of special interest groups, and you can check that out on the web there. And once we get over this COVID thing, we will be doing a lot more outings, which we enjoy doing as a group. So glad you joined us, and, you know, welcome aboard.
Thanks.
Okay, the other new member we have is Don Castillo. Is he here tonight? I don't think so. Okay, those were the 2 that we had.
All right. You know, welcome to the new members. I'm really glad you guys were able to join us. And I think you'll find out that we're not a bad group. We have some feedback somewhere. Do you know what it's from?
Sounds like you, Chuck.
No.
That sounds like me. Let me do something here. Why that's. Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
We can hear you.
Not sure why that's feedback's coming back. All right. Let's go on here. Saturday online Zoom workshops. We have those coming up. Again, the next one is going to be Chris Summers. And Chris will be doing one on children's portraiture. Chris, are you here? I don't hear him. Okay, Chris is done a lot of photography of kids and stuff like that, and he was a professional photographer. He's got a lot to teach us, so I'm looking forward to hearing from him, and that'll be next October 3rd on Saturday, 10:30. I don't have anything planned for November or December. I'm not sure if we'll do one or not, but those we've had one every month so far this year. You know, workshop recap on we've outdoor photography in and around Houston was the last one we did. Dave and Connie gave a great workshop, and if you want to know what they gave, look at our website. There's a page on photo ops there that you can go to, and I'll show you that in a second. I put most of their information there so you can go see it. So it was really a great presentation. I think I'll show it to you in a second when I get to do some other stuff. If you do go to the website, you're going to see things like under the resources tab, getting individual help, which is basically our mentors program, where anybody who doesn't know photography or has questions can come and ask anybody. We've got a new map of our favorite photo ops, which comes from Connie and David. We have member websites, and we're getting more every day. So everybody who has a website, you know, send me your information. We'll post your website up here. We've got workshops and presentations. We've got something I've just added here, a new thing called Photoshop Tights Topics. which are short videos on Photoshop if you want to learn Photoshop. And then we got meeting agendas from the last meetings. Let me just show you quickly what some of that looks like, just so you get an idea. This is our website here. I think you can see that. Resources, getting individual help is our mentors page. And basically, we've got people here with their contact information, what their interests are. And you can go in here and contact them, but just by clicking the contact button. If you've got some questions, we're on this page because we want to help. So don't feel bad about clicking the buttons. The new map that I started building last month, and with Connie's help and Connie and David, we've added a lot of pieces to it. We have a lot of things that are on this map. And then with Connie and David's presentations on the thing here. So if you want to see the presentation, the workshop from last month, it's right here. And then going through here, there's a lot of links and websites that you can go to. The reason this is important is fall is coming, cool weather's coming. You guys want to go get out and take pictures. There's a ton of ideas right here. You can go through all this stuff. There's more than you can possibly do in one fall. And then of course, there's the map here that you can go to that has a lot of information on it. All right, so that's the map. Members' websites. These websites are our members have websites. There's Bill Baird's website. If you click there, you get to see Bill's pictures. That's my website. You get to see mine. I got Flickr. I've got YouTube. There's Steve Hansen's, Yvette. So you can go through here and look at people's websites and see what kind of pictures they have. It's a good place to go. Workshops and presentations. If you ever wondered where all that stuff goes, we do post it here. We have a big list of 11 pages of this stuff. So there's a lot of old presentations here. This is a new area here, Photoshop type topics. These are videos of that I put together on, for example, opening files in Photoshop, using the crop tool, simplifying panels, creating a layer. And so these are all maybe 5 to 10 minutes long. Well, this one says 13 here. Yeah, a couple are pretty hard to keep short. But anyways, I've got a bunch up, and I've got probably another 10 that I want to do. Was that? Okay, all right. And that's so that's that. And then there's meeting agendas that Kathy posts all the time after these meetings. So that's that topic. That's what's on the website for you guys, and hopefully you find it useful. So that's the individual help. That's the photo ops, members' websites, presentations, type topics, and the agendas.
So Chuck?
Yeah.
This is Jim here. You probably got the same thing I got, but you got an email that says Wings Over Houston.
Yeah.
And it said it's a go this year. I'm not sure the date, sometime in October. But anyway, it's apparently a drive-in.
Does that cut off the camera when you hear that?
Sorry?
That must come in today. I didn't see it, right?
Yeah, I just got this afternoon. And anyway, they said it's a drive-in. You can buy tickets and all that kind of stuff. And I'm sure they've got all the details on there. We'll have to get out. I know a lot of folks at the club like to go to that.
Yeah, we'll have to look into that. That's a good idea. I'll have to look for that email, see if I can find it. Thanks, that's a good deal. Yeah, last 2 years ago, I went in the photographer. Okay, we're getting some chatter somewhere. Now let's go. There's another place on Facebook. We also have this garage sale site. And I wish I knew what I was doing.
Dale's here. Hey Dale, how are things in the Woodlands?
Oh, I'm sorry, that's somebody else. Okay.
You're muted. We can't hear you. You need to unmute. We are now.
Okay, I'm not sure what's going on there.
Hey,
Like
Chuck,
the playback.
it appears that someone's playing the Facebook Live in the background, and it's in a loop.
Okay, maybe that's what the problem is. Okay, has it stopped? Hopefully. Okay. Anyways, the garage sale. We have actually sold some good stuff through the garage sale site.
Now all we need is to get a speaker. Oh, Doug, sweet. There he is.
He's here.
Okay, it is an old one.
Good, thank you very much.
I don't know. I'm going to turn off our Facebook feed.
Okay, good speaker. We probably have a little bit of a light crowd tonight. I don't know why, but
Let's go. I'm gonna turn off our Facebook feed. I'm not sure why. It's gone crazy on us.
And Jim
Looks like it's coming from Bill's.
they heard the
Yeah, I'm not
It's
sure what it is.
coming from Bill.
Yeah, that's what most people do.
Doug, maybe you can just
Okay,
mute.
I just muted Bill. Okay, I'm okay now. Sorry about that. Let me go back to screen share here. I got him muted. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, it's hard to speak when something like that's going on. Okay, good. Sorry about that. Let's go back to this thing here. And let's go back to presentation mode. Sorry, I can't forget my presentation back up here. There we go. All right, good. Sorry about that. We've actually sold some stuff through the garage sale site, so that's pretty good. And there is on the website. There's a link on the website that you can get there too. Upcoming activities. Ann, are you there? I guess Ann's not there. See if she's. I don't see her on the website here.
So Chuck, I think she said she was going to be out of town.
Okay. So Ann's not here.
California right now. She's got a
Oh, she
grandbaby.
is. That's right. She's visiting kids, isn't she?
Yeah.
Yes.
We're supposed to meet tomorrow evening and talk about some pop-ups
Thursday.
trips.
Yeah.
Yeah, Thursday evening.
Thursday night, we're having an online meeting to talk about our trips this year. And so
Right.
there are some that we're going to be planning, and I'm sure we'll put that out right after the meeting. There will be some pop-up activities for a few people who can go. We will try to get some good stuff out. So be on the lookout. Be on the lookout for stuff that's coming. And then the program this month, and we can get to Doug Sweet. Doug Sweet has joined us from the Humble Camera Center to talk to us about what's going to be the future of photography. What's the good stuff? And this is great for Christmas season. Here is the manager of the Humble Camera Center. So I'm going to with that I'll give this over to Doug and let him go. I'm going to stop my share and then let him go to do the sharing. Okay, so hold on. If I can get this thing to work. Okay. Stop share. All right. Stop. Doug, you want to go ahead and share your screen or whatever you'd like to do?
Yeah, I mean, can everybody see me and hear me fairly well?
Yes, we can hear
Yes.
you.
Good. So the plan originally was to have some examples to bring and show you guys, but with the COVID and everything that was happening, no one's actually shipping anything. Canon's not shipping anything, Nikon's not shipping anything, Fuji, nobody's shipping anything. We can't even get camera straps at the moment because nobody's shipping anything. So what we're going to do instead is I'm just going to tell you what is coming, some advances in photography that's going on, and some things that are growing in photography that you'll be probably seeing here in the future. So the first thing I think I want to jump into is the mirrorless versus the DSLR. And I don't know how many people are shooting mirrorless or know about it. I'm quite sure everybody knows about the Canon M50s and the Nikon Z6s and the Sonys and all that. Mm-hmm. So I, about 4.5, 5 years ago, switched over to mirrorless from Nikon. I went to Fuji. I went because it was lighter. The build quality was a little bit better to me with the all metal bodies. And then the form factor was a big deal for me as well. And one of the things that I particularly like about the mirrorless cameras being on this side of the register is that I get to see you guys' repairs, right? And so with traditional DSLRs, that mirror assembly, that shutter, it's normally rated to like 250 to 300,000 based on whatever camera you have. Well, technically, mirrorless cameras don't actually have a mirror assembly, so there is no shutter unit to replace. So the repairs on those tend to be a lot less than you'd get on a DSLR. So on the front end, you may spend a little bit more on a mirrorless camera and the mirrorless lens system, but on the back end, you're not spending as much money because you're not repairing it as often. Typically, the repairs we see on mirrorless cameras are kind of user error. People dropping them, people putting them in water, people taking the lens off and not realizing that that's the sensor exposed, so they touch it, you know, stuff like that. But you very rarely see any mechanical issues happening with a mirrorless camera. One of the other things that I liked particularly about the mirrorless camera is because I do shoot film. And so I'm able to purchase things like this little mount here. And this goes for Canon, the Canon mirrorless system, the Fuji mirrorless system, and the Sony mirrorless system, where you can purchase these little mounts. And this one I actually have is on an old 51.2 Canon. So I'm actually able to use Canon lenses on my mirrorless system. Now, for those of you who are invested in Canon, current Canon like EFS lenses and EF lenses, you can buy mounts that are electronic, and those mounts will actually allow you to retain your autofocus with the mirrorless system. The only one you don't have autofocus retention with is Nikon. That's because Nikon's mounts are always mechanical. Even though they have electronic insides, the back end is mechanical. But for just about every other brand, you can still use the any brand glass that you want on your mirrorless camera. I don't know how many.
Oops, that froze up.
Buy Canon lenses at first, and so when those first came out, everybody was just buying Canon lenses and those mounts. They were somewhere around $320. They've since dropped some, but there's one company that is kind of the forefront of it is called Metabones. Theirs are a little pricey. They're about $450, but you get to hold on to all your Canon glass. So in retrospect, you know, spending $450 versus buying a whole new set of lenses is kind of a drop in the bucket. So like the lens adapters, I really like. The color science to me is a lot better. Being able to now also one of the things with mirrorless cameras is you tend to get a little bit sharper of an image because there's no mirror assembly. So that lens is basically almost touching that sensor. So that distance being closed gives you a sharper image. Any questions so far? Everybody's good?
No, that's good.
Okay. One of the things you heard me say a few minutes ago was build quality. As far as Sony, Nikon, and Canon go, they don't have what I'm about to talk about. Fuji has their cameras are what they call weather sealed, and they do have Sony, Canon, and Fuji have some weather sealing, but not to a point where like Fuji is, where I've actually been out in like downpours and shooting and just fine, and their lenses are the same way. Now, Sony has some weather sealing. It's more for light rain, dust, things like that. But I wouldn't be out in a rainstorm with it. But because mirrorless cameras are a lot smaller, they're easy to put away. And typically all you gotta do is kind of wipe them down and they're just fine. As long as you don't get any water inside, you're normally pretty good. As far as mirrorless technology goes, I don't know how much you guys follow trends or news or whatever, but about a month ago, I think, Sony announced that they were canceling the 7D line and the 5D line in order to take that money and put it over into mirrorless research. When mirrorless cameras first started coming out, Sony, Fuji, Olympus, those guys had jumped on and started producing cameras. Nikon and Canon, they kind of hee-hawed around and said, well, we don't think this is going to take off. Nikon, if everybody remembers, made the J1, the V1. Those really weren't great cameras. Nikon didn't really see a lot of great sales out of them. So they kind of took it with a grain of salt and just said, we're not going to focus on that. Well, jump to now, Sony making their cameras, Fuji making their cameras, the market has changed. where Nikon and Canon were 1 and 2 back and forth. Now it's Sony, Fuji, with Canon and Nikon following suit behind them. Canon is actually starting to take mirrorless cameras seriously. Their M50 is probably the first mirrorless camera that they produced that actually got good reviews and actually was a solid product. On top of that, their new cameras, the Rs, we actually haven't gotten a chance to actually test and play with them because they haven't shipped any. I do know a few camera shops that have gotten some, but they're typically the bigger shops like your B&H's, your Adораmas, BNC in Vegas, but those are camera shops that's they order in mass bunches like that. So they tend to kind of cater to them a little bit more. But as far as us, we haven't seen them yet. When we'll see them, we don't know. But I've heard good things about them. Somebody had a question? Oh, someone's talking. Oh, someone's talking in the background. The one thing that's happening also is with your traditional DSLRs, you have your full frame. Full frame. I don't know if you noticed it, but full frame is starting to shrink a little bit, and that's because with Sony and Fuji, Fuji doesn't even make a full frame camera. They go from crop sensor to medium format, and their medium format camera starts off at about 80 megapixel. Now Sony makes a was it the 7.4 A7R4? It's 61 megapixels full frame. When you start getting to that 61, you're not even really full frame anymore. You're pretty much knocking on the medium format door. So I personally have been seeing everybody kind of shying away from their full frame stuff. They're not putting too many advances in it. They're coming out with these bodies, but not really too much more technology into them. And my thinking is because they're jumping into medium format, because the medium format prices have gone down. Fuji had the GFX 100. That was a 100 megapixel medium format camera. It started off at 10 grand. I think now you can get one for about 7. And so like the the 50 they have, also that runs you about 4. So those prices are actually starting to come down to those, was it Canon 1DX, Nikon D5 prices. So you're getting the prices closing in, and then that technology is kind of, everybody's either going crop sensor or medium format now, from what I've been seeing. And with the medium format, I mean, once you get to 60, 70, 100 megapixel, I mean, unless you're printing, you know, huge billboards, you're not really seeing too much of a difference between that and full frame. But the fact of the matter is you're getting a much bigger sensor. And so a bigger sensor gives you better detail, as I'm quite sure all you guys know. So the way the market's been going, you have the hobbyist who is just picking up your Canon Rebels and, you know, your 90Ds and things like that, to your serious hobbyists who are trading in the DSLRs and running in and getting, you know, your Z6s, your Canon R5s, your Fuji GFXs, and your Sonys, and they're willing to spend $2 or $3 grand for a camera body in order to get the results they're looking for.
Anything else on the DSLRs? Are there going to be any more advances on those, or that you think they're just going to, everything's just going to go mirrorless?
Really, right now, I think everything's going to go mirrorless because the DSLRs that we're seeing coming out, there's not any advances. It's more like they're just chugging them out just to be chugging them out. Just say, for instance, when the 70D went to the 80D, you know, they changed the focusing, they changed the sensor. And then when the 80D went to the 90D, all they did was added more frames per second, really. So it's, to me, I don't see much of a difference in the DSLRs. I think they're just chugging them out just to be chugging them out, just to have some cash flow coming in. I mean, even with the 5D Mark III and the 5D4, the 5D4, they actually had a recall, you know, day one because the focusing wasn't right. And then they had the overheating problems. And to me, when you start seeing stuff like that day one, where you start seeing overheating problems and like that, you're not putting a lot of money into R&D. You're just chugging them out because the last one worked, and so this one's going to work and it's going to sell. It's going to be a cash cow, and that's kind of what it is. And actually, when the 5D4s came out, people who bought them day one A week later, they were trying to trade them back for their 5D3s because the focusing was better and the color science was better, but they couldn't get them back, of course. But now with a few firmware updates, 5D4s are okay, but you still find people looking for the 5D3s. But that's just because I don't think no one's actually putting much money into their DSLRs. I mean, even look at Nikon. They came out with the 7000 series has always been the bottom of Nikon's Pro line. Always had 2 memory card slots. The 7500 comes out, and not only did you change the lens mount to a P series, where you can't use those lenses on any other DSLRs unless it's a P series camera, but they took out the memory card slot, one of the memory card slots. So now you changed it from a professional camera to a prosumer camera. So it's almost like they kind of take one step back with the DSLRs because they're trying to put more money into their mirrorless. Anybody have any other questions?
Yeah, when you, like I've got the 5D Mark IV and I shoot with a 400 2.8. If you went to the mirrorless camera, how is it going to be? You still gonna have good sharp pictures with that adapter on there? I always worry about adapters hurting your quality.
No, the adapter, because, and the reason, okay, so some adapters will hurt your quality because they have something in them, like a glass or something. They're just a piece of metal. And your lens, so basically this would actually be almost the same size as your mirror assembly. So you're not losing any detail when it comes to that. So
this is going to be a little closer to the chip, or is it going to be about the sensor? I mean, or is it going to be closer or further away from the sensor, or is it going to be the same?
No, it's going to be roughly about the same as if you had a DSLR with an actual mirror in it. It doesn't add that much length to it, and honestly, you can't even tell that it's on there. Like for this one, this is an old Argus 135, right? And that looks like the whole lens until I take this old screw mount lens. So when I take that part off, that's not adding that much to that lens. So you're not losing any image quality when you put those mounts on the back of those cameras. I'm sorry, on the front of the camera.
Like using a 1.4 or 1.6 extender or something like that, or multiplier, whatever you want to call it then, right?
You'll still, well, okay, so it depends on the brand you use. So if you're using one that doesn't make a full frame camera, then you're already getting that multiplication because of the sensor. You're getting that 1.4, 1.5 anyway. But when you're putting that 1.4, it's going to work the exact same way as it did with a DSLR, except you will have a little bit more, you'll be a little bit closer to the sensor than you would be with a traditional DSLR. Now, I will say that on, unless you're getting the cameras with the auto adapters, because like these run you about $30 because there's no circuitry. You shoot manual with this particular one, but if you get the kind that you can retain your autofocus with that 450, you'll probably end up having to buy one that's compatible with that mount. So if you buy the Metabones one, you probably have to buy the Metabones adapter to make your autofocus work. But I haven't seen any issues with that, and quite honestly, I haven't seen too many people actually use their extenders on their mirrorless because of the crop factor.
Can I add something here?
Sure.
Okay, so I shoot a long-time Canon EF shooter, and then I own Canon M. I have two M5 bodies, which I love. I started with the M1, M2, M3. And then I also have the R system, and I have the adapters, and I have no problem with it. The problem is just keeping track of where your adapters are. You forget sometimes, oh, which lens is that on? You know, you're trying to change lenses. So I actually have some extra adapters, and I find sometimes the autofocus with some third-party lenses is slowed down a little bit, but otherwise, I don't have any problem. I shoot all the time. My Canon R is my main camera right now because I'm playing with a new camera, and I just love it. I have no problem at all. So some EF lenses especially, if they're Canon glass and using a Canon adapter, you should have good results.
And you were saying about like with the third-party lenses, that is, sometimes people do have problems with those. And
I have some Tamron and Sigma lenses, and sometimes they're a little slower to focus, but why do we rush so? Sometimes we need to take more time, you know? So.
Yeah, right.
Except when that bird's moving or the animal's moving.
Well, yeah, okay, you got me there.
As far as that goes, sometimes that's actually even fixed with a firmware update, especially with Sigma.
Right.
Tamron doesn't really do too many firmware updates, but Sigma sometimes will fix those issues with that.
Well, and I have the docs, and I posted on our website to remind people, because I know some of my members of our club have other third-party lenses, and you've got to go in every now and then and check those, make sure your firmware is up on your lens, and if you have the lens doc, then you're all set. You just update.
And that brings me kind of the firmware part. That's what we're going to get into next. That kind of brings me back to why I chose DSL mirrorless over the DSLRs, and why Fuji in particular. After doing my research with Fuji, Fuji as a company only carries 5 batteries, one for their printer, and then one for the DSLRs, one for the little point and shoot cameras. And then they just put a new one out for their GFX line, which is their medium format line. So having said that, one thing that Fuji does is, say for instance, you buy the Fuji camera, the X-T4. Well, that battery from the X-T4 works on the X-T3 all the way down to the X-T1. But say for instance, next year, Fuji comes out with the X-T5. You don't have to buy the next camera, because the firmware in the X-T5, they're going to give you in a firmware update in the X-T4. So for instance, I started off with Fuji with an X Pro 2. The X Pro 2 and the X-T2 were flagship cameras. One was a rangefinder, one was a DSLR style with the viewfinder right in the middle. Well, the X-T2 came out, it had 325 autofocus points and it shot 4K. The X Pro 2 didn't do that. And after a few months, Fuji did an update where the X Pro 2 had the same specs as the X-T3. And so they do that with their cameras. There are people still shooting X-T1s with just firmware updates. I think 4 generations in is when they kind of stopped doing the upgrades, but typically that's all they need is a firmware update and everything's fine. And that was why I chose them over anybody else. And plus the color science was great. Now, the next advancement I'm going to talk about, some photographers frown on, and they have good reason to, and that's phones. Phone photography has always kind of been the stepchild of photography. Nobody really wanted to really dive into it or acknowledge it as a medium, but with the iPhone pretty much killing off the point and shoot market, the phones have gotten a lot better. Now, the one thing that phones have that the traditional point and shoots didn't always have is the option to have manual shooting. So there are apps out there where you can actually control your aperture, shutter speed. You treat your phone just like a DSLR. Then one of the other things that I always had an issue with was printing out of a phone. Well, you know, starting with the iPhone 6 and 7, 20 by 30s out of the phone, as long as you had it set right, was no issue. I've printed 2 or 3 20 by 30s out of my phone just because, you know, I took the shot and it was the only thing I had with me and it came out just fine. I think when companies, so the only company that really tried to embrace the cell phone camera thing was Samsung. Samsung had the Note phones, but a lot of people don't know they also had Note cameras where you can take the lenses off and everything. And they had some point and shoot. And they acted just like phones. You could put a SIM card in and make phone calls from the phone, the whole 9. The image quality wasn't that great. It was almost like their cell phones, but they had the right idea. Now you fast forward to now with the iPhones, the Galaxy Notes now, you know, you can download things like the Moment app and shoot full manual. The Filmic Pro will give you full manual control. You can color grade, you can do the whole 9 all from your phone. Yeah, it's not gonna, I mean, as a photographer, I'm never gonna replace my camera with an iPhone, but to replace a point and shoot camera with an iPhone, I don't have a problem with that. You'll get some great photos out of your iPhone. You'll get some great prints out of your iPhone. And I never thought I'd be the one to say that, but you do. A lot of people will give you some grief over that, but they can't deny it. You heard me mention about a few minutes ago about an app called Moment. Well, Moment started off about 6 years ago making lenses for phones, and here's one of the lenses. This one is their macro lens. Now, let me see if you can hear this. Well, this has a magnet in it. That lens is a metal body. So this particular lens is made just like a DSLR lens. It has elements in it. It has full glass. It is sharp. They make a whole line of lenses, wide angle, portrait, I just told you, macro, the whole nine, and you get great detail out of them. They run you about $100 a piece, and the funny thing is they actually, I don't know if you can see that, they actually screw into your camera like a DSLR. Yeah. So they screw in, so they're stuck there, and traditionally you had to buy the Moment case in order to do that. But now they've come out with a mount where you just plug it on, put the mount onto your phone, and you can clip it on and off. So it's not always there all the time, and you just tighten your lens on there. There are other companies who make them. There's actually a company here in Houston that makes them as well. They're not as sharp. So Moment kind of jumped on everybody when they had the foresight to actually make theirs metal. They invested and they actually took a lot of losses the first few years because they refused to make anything but metal lenses. And some of the old engineers from Nikon and Canon actually had input on these lenses. So, I mean, if you want to step your phone game up a little bit, there's ways to do that, but I don't see anytime soon because everybody has one. They're going to get better. Will they get to actual camera status? I don't know. I don't think so. I'd be hard pressed to say that they would. I wouldn't want to walk around with a phone in my pocket with a zoom lens on it, zooming in and out for 200 or 300 millimeter, if that makes sense. So that brings me to my next point. And they always say history repeats itself. And here in the last 3 years, one of the biggest advancements in photography, believe it or not, has been in film. Film has made this crazy comeback to the point where last year, I think 10 new companies came out and started making new film. Some of the old stocks of film that once died are back. Kodak and Kodak and Fuji actually both last year together combined put in right at $1 billion in research to bringing new film stocks back. And the film community has grown to the point where I actually even had to start a film club here in Houston because people were just trying to find any resource they could to learn how to shoot film. So I had to start a club. Was it last year? There was, well, actually this year, we can even talk about this year. There was 4 or 5 new film stocks already. And this is with COVID going on. So companies are popping up everywhere. There's 4 new labs here in Houston that develop film, not just us. So film, it kind of died down, but it's not going anywhere. People are paying crazy amounts of money for cameras that, years ago we paid, $50, $60 for. There was what's her name? A Kardashian, I can't remember her name, but she was on a TV show and they asked her about her camera. It's a Contax T2. The night she said that, you could buy a Contax T2 on eBay for about $70. After she said that her Contax T2 is a camera she uses, you can't find one in good condition for less than $700.
Oh my God.
So yeah, it's amazing. People are like digging in their closets, finding these old cameras, and they come and say, well, how much is this worth? And, not all of them are gold mines, but some of them are. And people are like, I had no idea I'm sitting on this. Well, let me, you know what? Let me see if I can still shoot it. You guys still film? Yeah. You have no idea how many people who walk in and go, wait, you guys still have film? Yeah. Oh, well, let me get some film. I had a guy about 3 months ago, he could not get his digital camera. He was so focused on film, he couldn't get his digital camera. He saw we had film cameras, and he traded in his digital camera for his film camera, some film. I walked out, and I was happy, completely happy. Now, as far as new film cameras, Nikon still makes 2 film cameras. I think it's the M6 and the M10. They still make 2 film cameras. Leica still makes 3 different film cameras. And if you have an old Leica camera, Leica still repairs cameras all the way back from the Leica 1. So I talked to a guy about 6 months ago at the Leica store in San Francisco and asked him about it. And he said, yeah, as long as, he said, we don't actually do the repairs ourselves, but we just supply the parts. So when you send it to us, we'll send it to someone else who we supply the parts for. We've trained them how to do this. So there are people out there who are still repairing cameras. There's people who are finding old manuals and learning how to do it themselves, and they're starting businesses. There's a guy in Idaho who repairs anything Olympus for 60 bucks. No matter what it is, 60 bucks and it's repaired. There's Brooklyn Camera. Brooklyn Camera is a, I think my headphones are about to go out. I'll have to switch headphones. Brooklyn Camera is a camera company that started off with, I think it was a film photography project. No, I'm sorry. They started off with the Polaroid rendition. So Polaroid came out and with a new camera. Well, let me back up. And Polaroid went out of business. A company called Impossible came in, bought the last 10 pallets of Polaroid film and reverse engineered it. So when they reverse engineered it using the Polaroid factory, they actually ended up coming out with new film. Cut to a few years later, they ended up buying the actual Polaroid name back from the guy who had it. Now they're called Polaroid. Well, Polaroid would actually, when they first started, would actually buy old cameras and refurbish them. They went back and hired old Polaroid technicians to come back in and actually fix the old cameras. So Brooklyn Camera started from this handful of guys who wanted to keep fixing Polaroids. And so that's how Brooklyn Camera came up. So people are starting to make businesses out of, just repairing old film cameras, bringing film cameras back out. There's, Kodak brought back Ektachrome. They were looking at trying to bring back Kodachrome, but of course, with the chemicals you need, the EPA wasn't having that. Fuji brought back Acros. There's people who are buying old movie film, like the film stocks, and actually cutting them down to 35 millimeters so you can shoot them. There's a company called Cinestill that came out a few years ago. They actually bought they buy Kodak movie film, turned it into, they remove a layer off of it, and so you can use it into your 35 millimeter. Their black and white film is the actual film that was used to shoot like Schindler's List and Raging Bull. So film, it got quiet, but it's not going anywhere. And that's where a lot of the advances are happening right now, is in film.
Douglas, are people coming into your shop and asking for film cameras?
Film cameras, and to the point where I do the ordering of the film, and we went from carrying like 6 stock to about 20. So film is, we're getting a lot more interest in film, and it's people who either shot film before digital came out and they just want to go back. It's people who found their grandparents' camera and they want to shoot it. And then it's some kids who watch a YouTube video and came in and said, I want to try a film camera, and they get hooked. We have some people, there's one guy I know of that spends probably about $70 a week in film, and learned how to process it himself, and he scans it himself. He does everything himself, but he just buys. Sorry, say it again.
When you're, this is Jim. Speaking of film, I shot a few weddings back in the 90s with film, and I guess the stress factor from the time you take them at a wedding to the time you get the film developed, I guess it's worth it. Let me tell you. So anyway.
There is that factor, that high stress factor, but most of the people who are shooting it to, believe it or not, relax. That's kind of why I shoot it, just so there's no deadlines, there's nothing, I just go out and shoot. But I do know probably about 20 people here in the Houston area, their whole business is film. They don't shoot any digital. They don't do anything digital. They got rid of the digital cameras. It's all film.
I got a question on the chat here. Who's developing film?
We are at the shop. We still develop it. There's a place that just opened up called Flats over in the Montrose area that does it. There's a place over called Cactus Labs. I think they develop it. And I've heard of one other place that develops it, but I haven't actually spoken to them or been by their location yet. So it's I mean, actually down here, I got my 4x5 camera. I still shoot it. So it's not going anywhere. Yeah. But yeah, we develop it 3 times a week, actually. I don't know. I think my headphones just wrong.
Photo Lab also develops film.
Yes.
He says he's really increased his business on film.
The local guy, you mean up, yeah, the guy here.
Okay, I think we're it.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, Kingwood Photo.
Yeah.
Yeah, Steve.
Yeah, that's right. Steve at
Steve.
Kingwood Photo.
Yeah.
Steve at Kingwood Photo. Now, if I'm not mistaken, from what I haven't actually spoken to him, but what I've been told is he actually sends the film out to be developed. But I'm not sure how true or not that is.
I don't know.
As far as I know, when he changed locations, he did not take his film machines with him after the flood, as far as I understand. But the ones I know for a fact that develop here, and they don't go out anywhere, are us, Flats, and Kingwood Photo Lab. I mean, I'm sorry, Cactus Labs.
Do you know if, like in the high schools, the local high schools, are they still teaching photo classes, photojournalism classes? And if they are, do you know if they still have their photo lab, their dark rooms within the high school to develop it?
So yes, I do actually. The last school that I knew of that had one was in Spring ISD. They had a darkroom lab, but after that teacher retired, they wanted nothing to do with that. Most schools still teach photography, but it's not taught to the extent that it was years ago, where the focus was photography. Right now, what they do, for the most part, and I guess it's to save money and not have to have too many teachers, is they fold photography into a journalism class. So you're not always guaranteed to have a teacher that knows photography. I know for a fact of a few schools where the students have come in, the teacher really doesn't know anything about photography, but they're writers, and they just put them in charge of the journalism class. I know. I think Lone Star still has a class, but as far as their dark rooms is concerned, I think the only dark room they actually still have is the one downtown at the HCC location. The one they had in Kingwood, I think they shut down because we used to send people over there, but we've had reports coming back saying that they no longer have that dark room there. So I don't know if they shut it down after the flood, or if the teacher retired, or what happened. But
Hey, Doug.
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say, I've got 2 kids at Kingwood High, and they're both taking AV classes, and that's graphic design, photography, storyboarding, all of that. So at Kingwood High, anyway, it's kind of more in the graphic design business end as opposed to journalism. And so dark rooms, though.
And it's good you said that, because that's kind of how those journalism classes go now. All the kids do everything. So it's not like we just have one kid has a photographer. This kid might be doing, headlines and graphic design today. This kid might be writing. And then I think once you get into the advanced classes of journalism is when you can kind of pick and choose where you want to be. But I know, like last year with the schools, we didn't have too many kids from high schools coming in buying film or film paper to develop. We had a lot of people coming from North Harris and Lone Star, basically, Lone Star system. I think someone was still holding on to a class there, but it hasn't been like it was, where we had a run of high school students, at the last minute telling their parents on a Saturday they need a class or they need a camera on Monday. We haven't had that any time here lately.
Yeah.
But they're still learning it. Kids are our daily battle is, I saw on YouTube that you could do this. And it's like, okay. First of all, stop looking at YouTube until you learn what you're doing. So so we have to do a lot of correction nowadays. I had one kid the other day. She came in and she goes, I can't see any pictures. And I said, well, what do you mean you can't see any pictures? She said, well, I opened it up and I didn't see anything. So I pulled the film out and did that and didn't see anything. I said, well, there's no pictures there. You just ruined it. Well, how? So I had to explain to her how that worked. And then, so she said, well, let me buy another roll of film. And so I get her another roll of film and handed it to her. And she kind of looked at me and looked at the camera. I said, you need me to show you how to load it? Yeah. So let's start from square one. But even though the kids aren't being taught like we were taught photography, they are learning it on their own through trial and error, and they're sticking with it. You do get a few who's tried out and it's either too expensive for them or it's not something they really want to do. But then you get, for every one of those, you get 5 who buy a film camera and can't wait to see what's on their film. They'll drop it off Tuesday afternoon and Monday morning they're calling, my film ready? Well, we just opened. We haven't done anything yet. We'll call you when it's ready. But you can't, you don't want to extinguish that because that joy of photography is there. I mean, they're loving the fact that it's not just on their phone for them to go through. They actually have to physically make something and bring it in, and they can see their negatives and make prints from it. We actually see an uptick in prints because kids want to see the prints. They want to see the photos they made and not just on a CD. So, I mean, was there any other questions?
That's the future of photography is film, huh?
Well, I think it's part of the future.
You didn't mention Nikon cameras. You got a lot into Canon. What about this?
Well, the only reason I didn't is, like I said earlier, everybody kind of knows about the Z6s and the Z5s, and it seems like to me, on being on this side of the register, they're solid cameras, but there's been a lot of firmware updates. And to me, that's Nikon still playing catch up as far as their software goes. I've seen the Z6s, the Z5s, the I think the other one is a 7. And while I am actually, I started off shooting Nikon. I shot Nikon 12, 13 years. And that was, I mean, I still bleed yellow and black back there. But I just knew for me going in the mirrorless, they weren't there yet, just based on the J1 series. This series of the Z cameras, they feel, I don't want to say they feel more thought out, but they feel like Nikon's starting to take it seriously. But it's almost like they're taking it seriously because they had to take it serious in order to stay relevant. I don't know if you remember 4 or 5 years ago when they came out with that DL line. It was supposed to be high-end point-and-shoot cameras that had no removable lenses, and they were supposed to come out with that line. And then the day that the line was supposed to drop, they pulled them all back because there was an issue with the firmware they couldn't fix. And on that particular day, Nikon lost $1 billion. And that was after they had just ramped up from the 2 tsunamis that they had, and that leveled their warehouses and their plants. So those 2 things plus the pullback and the loss of that $1 billion, they ended up having to lay off like 60% of their workforce. And the government actually went and asked Fuji to give them a bailout, either to bail them out or buy them outright. Now, as far as whether they got the bailout or not, I'm not sure, but I'm thinking they did because they're still producing new cameras. I think when that happened, they were coming out with the 600, 610, somewhere around there. So Nikon, they're still putting out product, but everything they're putting out right now is actually kind of, it's I don't want to call it a sinking ship, but that's the best analogy I can put. There's a pop-up here and they plug this hole. There's a pop-up here and they plug this hole. And I'm hopeful that the Z series actually, you know, puts them back on track because I've always loved their cameras. But I think the next generation of the Z, they're gonna have to take that, or even this generation of the Z, I think they're gonna have to be more serious about it in order if they're really serious about competing with Sony. Right now, you know, my thing with Sony was when the Sonys first came out, and you can ask customers when they first came out, I used to tell them, I said, yeah, the Sonys are nice, but Sony always gets you. You know, they'll make one good camera and then 10 to 15 years later, they still don't have another good camera, but you're stuck in their system. But now they've been just putting out hit after hit after hit. And even with the cameras that aren't hits, people are still wanting them. You know, like the A99 that had 105 frames a second with no blackout, and it would overheat. They couldn't fix the overheating issue, and people still wanted that camera. They didn't care. It was just the fact that that technology is progressing, and they wanted the new and next thing. I mean, people are willing. I mean, so was the A7 IV right now? The body only is $3,500. You know, that's D5 price. That's D 800 prices, but people are willing to pay it. And then you still got to turn around and pay X amount of dollars for if you want a Sony lens, you know. But I think Nikon has a shot if they take this course that they're on now and actually build on it. If they can make a solid camera without issues, if they can keep their firmwares going, if they just keep on this track, I think Nikon can actually compete. I've actually, I've always preferred Nikon over Canon or any other brand until, I went to Fuji, but I really want to see them succeed because I hate to see that company go under after their storied history. Like I said, I shoot Fuji digital, but all my film cameras are Nikon. So I don't want to see that company go under. But I mean, if it's going to protect the photography, then so be it. Yeah. But I'd rather not see it. I'd rather see a good product come out for the consumer than a subpar product and kind of kill that Nikon name.
Got too many lenses in Nikon, so I can't.
You and me both. You and me both. That's why I had to buy this mount.
That's right.
But Sony has this automatic tracking for you. Like I guess now, if you're shooting something flying, you track on it. It stays locks on that whatever is you're photographing. So, do you think other guys are going to come out with that same feature?
So Sony is really good at putting their dollars where in the marketing. So like that tracking feature, Fuji has always had that. Most mirrorless cameras have that, and have always had that. Sony is just really good at saying, hey, look what we did. And then people are going, hey, look what they did. And that's kind of what it is. But I think Canon is actually working on that. If they haven't already done it with that new R camera they come out with, I think they're working on that. I know that, I was reading the other day where Sony's coming out with Canon's supposed to be coming out with a 64 megapixel full frame mirrorless camera. And I don't want to see Nikon, I don't want to see Nikon follow suit with Canon, where Canon will come out with this camera and go, hey, this is a great camera. And then as the camera's coming out, they go, hey, but it has these issues. So here's this other camera that's better. And so like the Z series that just came out, the R series just came out for Canon. Before it even came out, Canon was admitting, yeah, they're having overheating issues and we can't figure out what it is. So you hadn't fixed that, but here's a whole new camera you're coming out with already. Like, fix this problem first and then do this. And that's the issues that Nikon and Canon had trying to catch up with the mirrorless system. They were focusing on trying to catch up instead of making a solid product. And so that's why I said if Nikon focuses on making a solid product and keeping that solid product going, they'll be fine. But if they don't, they'll go the way of Olympus.
Just don't buy Series 1 then, huh?
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying be leery. Do your research what you're buying.
That's good. Good. Any other questions?
Okay, let's get off on another subject here.
Okay.
Talked about all the little gadgets for the iPhone. Besides all of that, what's your favorite gadget?
Actually, probably what I'm using to hold my phone up now is a. I wish I could show it to you, but it's an Osmo 3. The Osmo 4 has just come out, but it's a handheld gimbal that. I mean, it's probably my favorite thing. I fold it up, throw it in a bag, and if I need video, it's on there. If I want to take pictures, it's on there. If I need to do a time lapse, I mean, it's almost like the old commercial. Just set it and forget it. I mean, that's probably my favorite gadget at the moment. Besides my mounts, because I'll throw a Fuji in a bag and I have a Minolta or a Canon lens or a Fuji lens and just kind of walk around and shoot. But as far as gadgets go, it's probably going to be this gimbal.
I just put a link on the chat here.
Yeah. I think they just come out with the 4 and it runs you about $149, but it folds up, goes right into a pocket or a bag, and you can do all kind of fun little things with it. Video, stills. It has face tracking, so if I was going to move, it would follow me. As far as photos go, you can do these crazy panoramas. You can do 360 panoramas. You can do I guess it's the sphere panoramas. It does them all. And it stitches.
Is the Osmo built by DJI?
Yes, sir. It is.
Okay, so I got the right one here. All right.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. Good. All right. Interesting. So that's your favorite gadget, huh?
Currently, right now, yes. But talk to me again next month.
Well, everybody got their Christmas gifts all set?
No, I just buy them through the year. That way, I won't have to worry about that at Christmas. Hey, Christmas, I can rest.
Very good. How's everybody doing? Okay. Is that it, Doug?
Yeah, that's it. I wish I had, like I said, I wish I was able to bring some examples to show you guys, but with no one shipping anything, that kind of hindered that a lot.
Yeah, I bet. Well, how do you do business with nobody shipping anything?
And that's we're able to. Tamron is still shipping, so we can sell lenses, camera repairs, printing, and crazy enough, film.
Yeah.
We're doing quite a bit of film.
Yeah.
Are you taking orders though for cameras?
Yes, ma'am. We are taking orders for cameras, and as soon as they start shipping, we get everybody going. It's stuff we've had on back order. Say, for instance, stuff we've had on back order with Canon. Whenever they'll get it in the warehouse, they'll ship it to us. So I think like last week, we finally got a T7 kit that we'd ordered a few months back. So as they're getting it in the warehouse, we're able to, they're shipping out their allocations. As far as Nikon goes, I'm not sure how they're working it because Nikon never kept anything in the warehouse anyway. They always shipped everything in. So, when we order something, we'd have to tell them ahead of time what we wanted to order. So I'm not exactly sure how they're going to be handling this thing, but we're just kind of waiting to see how everybody's going to be reacting and when we're going to start getting back to normal. We're one of our companies, we can get tripods and stuff like that. So accessory wise, we've been doing okay. And like I said, film and printing and restorations, we've been doing pretty good. Repairs, everybody's going to drop a camera at some point. And so they're going to need us for that. And framing helps still. But we're just chugging along until we figure out something else.
Mm-hmm. Good. All right. Well, good. Well, thank you, Doug. That was very informative. And you guys that support local businesses, we have that. Yeah, I think we have a link to your website on our website. So
yeah, I was looking at the screen. I was like, man, I'm most of these people are very familiar because I've seen them quite often.
Well, I've been in there a couple of times. So yeah, let's keep supporting you guys. Okay.
We really appreciate it.
Thanks for doing what you're doing. Why don't we go ahead and take? Let's see, it's 7:42. Give it 10 minutes or so, 7:52. Take 10-minute break, and then we'll get started again. Okay. Is that all right, guys? Go ahead, Bill.
Okay. Yeah. Well, this is the Hare Krishna Temple where we had an outing several months ago, and it is a very imposing structure, and lady that you see in the foreground, she was a very good guide and took us through. So it was an interesting experience and to learn how, or to learn about a different religion, but imposing structure.
It is, yeah. I was there with you. It was a great day.
Right. Yeah, we had a good time.
Great.
Somebody once thought this was some kind of a Japanese drawing. This is actually the Beltway 8 US 59 interchange when it was under construction. And one evening we were headed into town and just at the right moment, and I pulled off and I got this picture. And so always been one of my favorites.
Very nice.
That's pretty cool.
That's wonderful.
I like it.
That's cool.
Yeah, that was a luck. And of course, Golden Gate Bridge, that's one of the most famous structures, I guess, in the world, and in the U.S. anyway. And so we were out there last year and managed to get this and tried to get a little foreground there to give us some depth. And but wonderful place to photograph.
It is.
Very good.
And here's a sort of a paradox here that we have structures from different ages and different cultures. This was in Santa Fe, and so I really was attracted to this to get those two juxtapositions there, I guess you'd say. And so two man-made structures, but different cultures and different eras.
Bill Simister. Bill, are you there?
Hello, Bill.
Good.
Bill, are you there?
Unmute. There we go.
Yeah, there he goes.
Just two pictures. This one is, I guess, a mixture of man-made and natural-made. That's the Acropolis on the Parthenon, obviously a night shot, taken from a hotel that we were staying in. Went up to the top. I had a nice meal there, and amazingly, it was clear enough, and was able to get a decent picture.
Well, that's a great hotel.
And continuing with that same Greek trip, this is where many of you have been, I'm sure. And it's the island of, let's see, what is it? Santorini. And neither of these shots did I do much. I just said, that's about what it looks like. I did a little bit of minor color thing. I want to go back and maybe improve some of these more, but those are two of my favorite things that I took back in 2014.
Yeah, that's nice.
It was still time to travel. Still able to travel.
One of these days we'll do that again.
Nice.
Hey, Chris?
Hi. Okay. Well, I threw these images over to Kathy, and I explained a few things. I said, this is like you're talking about structures. Well, these are structures that build structures. So it's kind of a duplicate thing because they're cranes and they build buildings. And I was in Amsterdam and on a cruise. If many of you have been there, you've probably done the canal cruises. And it was really, this to me says what shooting in RAW can do, because all of a sudden, whoa, there's all this detail. Now the clouds, I'm going to talk about that. They weren't there, but it was just the idea that, okay, I can make these cranes look a lot better. And then I thought, well, okay, there's a boring gray sky. So I've been using, thanks to Chuck's recommendation, I've been using Luminar 4 a lot, and I found, well, okay, let's make it a sunset. And one of the things I had to do was control the water to try and burn in some of those colors and reflections and make it look like realistic. So in the end, yeah, it's okay. It wasn't what I saw, but it was what I believed was there. So, anyway.
Nice.
Nice. Very, very nice, actually. Very nice.
Big difference. It's amazing how they lay in that.
And the only one I could sell this to probably is the people who are building the building and own those cranes. They would go, "Oh my gosh, we love this shot." Who wants that shot on the left? It's horrible.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a well-known, if you're in Wales anyway, southern part of Wales, and this is called Pentra Ethan Cromlock. I'm going to try and pronounce it. And this was originally a burial chamber, so this whole thing would have been where that top stone would have been covered in dirt and other rocks, and then eventually that all went away. It's 3,000 years old. And so eventually you get to where this is, and if you look in the distance, you can see the ocean and some fields. And who wouldn't want to be buried in a place like this? So I think those people long ago had the same idea as we do when we let our ancestors go to rest. They want a pretty place to call their resting place. So, but anyway, this was shot, and I used to go to this place. I was there for a month. So about twice a week, I just drove over to this place and took pictures, and this was one of the better shots I got. Another shot in Wales, and structures. Well, how do we define structures? Well, this is a man-made structure called a windmill, and we put it out in a rural area, and then there's sheep. And I actually had a picture with some sheep doing another thing that I thought might not be family appropriate. I didn't show that one. But I'll tell you a quick story. I went down this road because I was out driving around aimlessly, as I often do on these trips. And I said, oh, I can get down this road, but there's a gate, and I have to open the gate and go through it, which is private property. And there was a lady just ahead, and I had some old business cards, and I said, hi, I'm a photographer, and I'm looking to scout some locations for wind energy in England. And she said, oh, well, you just go down our road. So I kind of tricked my way into this shot. I was technically on private land, but anyway. So it's always good to carry some business cards. Okay, now this shot here is kind of a weird, when I was talking to Kathy about it, I said, well, okay, so this is in Vancouver, Canada, and we talked about structures, and I thought, well, this is a cool picture, I've got it, let me play with it. The bottom left is raw out of the camera, which again, raw is ugly out of the camera, so you have to play with it. The middle shot on the bottom row is just adapting to in Lightroom, cropping, transforming all the converging lines and the distortions and all that. Then I took it into Luminar and I played with it. And I couldn't decide on the sky. I kind of played, but the colors are so muted. So finally I said, let's just make it a black and white and give it some texture, because it's kind of an urban landscape thing. Some urban landscape is always kind of gritty, there's steel and cement. None of these buildings are very attractive. They're all what I call 70s, 80s buildings. So anyway, this is what I made, and I hope you like it. This is my version.
Great use of black and white. That's a great use of black and white.
I like the before and after.
Yeah, well, and I wanted to give you guys here's a 4-step process. It's not just as easy sometimes as saying, oh, I'll just correct this with a couple of sliders. Sometimes you have to think, what do I want to show, or what do I think was here based on what I saw? And this is actually closer to what I saw other than the sky, because your eye sees so many shades of gray. The camera doesn't. And when you even process it, if you look in that middle lower picture, they're all muted tones. It was a cloudy day, and that's a boring skyline. So make it exciting.
Yeah, Chris, what you're taking a picture of, we talked about it before, and you went that landscape workshop too. It's the feeling that you're taking a picture of, not the object. And so your top picture has much more of a feeling to it than any of the ones down below. I mean, it really, it's a great picture.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Chris. That was interesting.
Okay, this is my pictures. This is just a house that's extremely important to me. I was in Barranquilla, Colombia, as they say, Colombia, a couple of years ago, and that's where I grew up. That was I spent my formative years there. That's my house. I can remember many times my bedroom was way over on the right-hand side with a little notch, and my window was over on the right-hand side over there. This picture is from Iceland, and that's they're very proud of their Norse heritage, and this is what this is here. It's a statue, obviously not real, but it's beautiful. Sunsets are beautiful. Iceland's a great place. This one's in Bali, Indonesia. Another pretty area. Bali is beautiful. It's overrun by tourists and stuff, but if you get off the tourist areas, Bali is still a beautiful place. And Indonesia is great too. And it just, as somebody said earlier, I wish we were traveling. This all brings stuff back. And then this was the, I think it's called the U-Ben Bridge in Mandalay, Myanmar, or Burma. It's the longest wooden bridge in the world. I think it's several miles long.
That's how you get to the Walmart, I think.
Yeah, I think it is. I think there's a Safeway on one side and a Walmart on the other. No. Yeah, but it's an amazing, and the sunsets in Burma are fantastic because the air pollution is so terrible. You know, sort of like California right now.
It's the one good thing about global warming, right?
Yeah,
better sunsets.
But it's an interesting place. I'd love. One of the most favorite trips we were ever on was that one to. We took the river Irrawaddy River all the way from Mandalay down to Yangon. Okay, Dale.
Oh, nice.
Ooh, hey, Dale, you got to unmute.
That's not Rainier.
Where's Dale? There he is.
Hey, Dale.
Dale.
Sorry, I thought that was automatic.
No.
This is the CenturyLink Event Center in Seattle, Washington. It's the roofing structure that interested me. Looked like a series of arches. If I'd have been really on my toes that day, I'd have moved slightly to the left and put Mount Rainier between the two big arches.
Gorgeous.
It's still very nice.
Yeah, it's good.
Very good.
Give this a second. Okay.
Next. Of course, everybody's probably going to have a picture of the Golden Gate Bridge. This is mine, taken several years ago when we were on a West Coast tour of Western states and national monuments. That sky and that previous picture is courtesy of Luminar.
Hey,
I know where that is.
And the same year we did the Seattle trip, we got home and changed clothes and took off for the Bahamas, and we stayed, as we have several times in the past, at Atlantis. I just love the structural visualness of the facility, and I think every time I've gone over there, I've taken a picture very similar to this. This is the latest one.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Beautiful hotel.
Jim is but that's a metal bridge. I don't see anything else on here, any notes. That must have been the painted bridges, the painted churches tour that he was on. Boy, there's some beautiful pictures. We got to get a field trip out there again, another one. This is an important picture. He told me to put this on there. He says this is a demonstration of the third law of thermodynamics. It's an outhouse. You can look that up. I think it's entropy. Entropy is what the deal is.
Yes.
So I know Jim did send me a text just before the meeting and says, please explain this picture as a third law. So I did.
Entropy never goes away. You know, you generate it, but it's one of the things that never goes away. I've never understood that theory, but that's what you said.
Anyways, that's Jim's interpretation. And that's pretty neat. Wish I knew where that was.
Oh, I think that's the museum on the West Coast.
That's Hearst Castle. It's Hearst Castle.
Yeah, Hearst Castle. It's not the Getty. It's Hearst Castle. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Hearst Castle. Yeah, I've never been there, but that's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a beautiful place to go if it doesn't burn up someday.
I'm starting to doubt all skies. Is that a real sky? It's a beautiful sky.
I'm thinking it is.
the two pine trees there.
It's at the right time of the day. The fog rolls in it's right on the ocean, and the fog will roll right in over and cover you up, so you can see the fog coming. It's really a neat place to be if you're there at the right time to get the fog pictures too.
Yeah, I'll have to try something. Cool. Okay, Jim.
Oh, it's the Taj.
Yeah, so since we're talking about man-made structures, this one is reputed to be the most beautiful one in the world, at least according to a lot of people.
Like the way you framed it.
Yeah. And if you haven't been there, there are two mosques that are mirror images of each other on either the right or the left side, not down the reflecting pond that most people take a picture of. So I framed the Taj in one of the arches of the mosque on one of the sides. But
Nice.
it truly is spectacular. If you have a chance, go visit. So you can go to the next one.
Oh, wow.
Pretty.
So this was right before our riverboat left, and my wife was really concerned that I was going to make it back to the boat before it left. But I had to get the picture. This is the cathedral at Cologne from across the Rhine, and that's actually a train bridge. It has like about 20 tracks on it going into the main train station in Cologne. But I love the cathedral. I did a rooftop tour at the cathedral one time, and again, if you have an opportunity to do that, that's also really cool. There are some pictures of that on my Flickr site. But anyway, it's the cathedral at Cologne. So you can go to the next one.
Oh.
Singapore.
So when I travel on business, and this is Singapore, I typically only have time to go out and take pictures at night. So I do a lot of night photography, and I chalk this one up to I'd rather be lucky than good, because this is a 5-second exposure with my camera sitting on the ledge of an outdoor bar on the 21st floor of a building across the marina, and since it was 5 seconds, I happened to catch that lightning bolt in the background.
That's incredible.
That's really
Lucky field lightning, not luminar lightning.
No, this is I'm not nearly the post processor that most of the rest of you are. So these are all real shots.
Oh, that's incredible.
That's good stuff. I like it.
Well, and I want to point out, your highlights are not blown out. If you look in the lower left, everything in your shot, you've got shadow detail and blacks, and so very little, but enough. So you're not clipping, and then you've got that strike of lightning. The wheel is lit up. You should enter this in a contest.
That's good stuff.
So I always shoot at least a third of a stop underexposed, and a lot of times a 0.7 of a stop underexposed for just that reason, Chris. So I don't get things blown out. But anyway, yeah, it's one. I've got this one printed at 20 by 16 and hanging in my office at work because I do like to shoot.
Good stuff.
That's nice. Nice shot. Nice shot.
So you can go to the next one.
Oh.
Like covered bridges.
It's taken my computer a while to change up. There it is. So I grew up in Ohio, and I really love covered bridges. And this one happens to be in a place called Park County, Indiana, which has the greatest concentration of covered bridges in the country. I think there are like 24 or 25 covered bridges in that county. It's just north of Terre Haute. This one was taken in like about the second week in April because it was still spring, and normally that stream under there is like about 3 feet wide, but there had been some snow a couple weeks earlier and it just melted. So anyway, great shot of a covered bridge, and this one was built I think in 1910. They all have dates on them, which is also really cool. But anyway, that's it for my structures.
Thank you.
Nice. Very nice. Very nice.
John.
Yeah, this here is in Kentucky. This is the Abraham Lincoln Birthplace National Historical Park located in Hodgenville, Kentucky. And it's a beautiful park. The structure was made for him inside. When you go inside, if you get into the back, they have a replica of the house that he grew up in. It's really a nice place to visit. Plus, it's a while to get up those steps, too. So if you have bad knees, you don't want to take that walk. So this is Moody Gardens. This is Iceland. Just thought I'd throw that in there. They are going to have Moody Gardens Iceland again this year, November 21st to January 2nd. If you've ever get a chance to go down, it's really great. it's a great place to get in there and take some pictures. Might be a nice trip for the club to go down, go into the Iceland and then get the Festival of Lights later.
Mm-hmm.
This is I lived in Ohio for a little while during my working career. And this is right off of Interstate 71, right outside of Cincinnati, Warren County, Ohio. The gentleman that owns this barn is really a nice man because, as you could tell, a lot of people photograph this barn. And he lets you, comes in, he'll come out and talk to you and say, take all the pictures you want, stay as long as you want. So this one kind of caught my eye. It was one of the 200 they celebrated in the state for the 200th bicentennial.
Nice.
And this here is St. Francis Church in Taos, New Mexico. Now you might know the back of this church because Ansel Adams photographed it many years ago. So I figured you might know what the back looks like. I'll show you what the front looks like. If you ever get a chance to visit Taos, New Mexico, it is actually a splendid place to go and take photographs. I call it the Woodstock of the West.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I think all the hippies would move there from Woodstock.
Yeah. These are Kathy's pictures here. I think she's got some explanation down below. Golden Gate Bridge. Boy, I saw some pictures the other day of the Golden Gate Bridge and the orange smoke. Awful what's going on over there. But this is beautiful. Look at the moon up there. Perfect shot. I assume this is taken from across the bay and Marin Heights or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
The peninsula over there.
I don't know. I love the moon.
This one, prehistoric monument in Ireland. Oh, that's another great place to go. It was built Neolithic period around 3,200 BC. Older than Stonehenge and older than some of us.
Watch it.
Hey.
Isn't this a great shot?
Oh.
Yeah, it's coming in from to LaGuardia on an airplane.
Wow.
That is a fantastic shot, I think.
I like the black and
white treatment. That's a lucky one. Beautiful. Iceland again.
Interesting. Yeah, I like that.
Hey, do you guys, somebody out there can pronounce the church's name?
Go for it, Chuck. Go for it.
Lutheran.
Lutheran Church.
Anyways,
it's
yeah.
It's pronounced Lutheran.
There you go. You got that. Okay, thanks. Lutheran Church. Okay, and that's
fantastic.
Leif Erikson, great person there. Iceland's very interesting because Iceland was called Iceland because they didn't want people to come there. They didn't want people to go to Greenland, so they called Greenland, so people would go over there. And
yeah,
real estate, real estate. But good, Mark.
Yeah, that's a little road railroad that runs out of Durango, called the Durango Silverton Railroad. And that's cutting it through the mountains. Mm-hmm. We were on the very back car called the Park.
Nice.
It was a lot of fun.
Best car.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah, that is neat.
And this is a tavern in Colonial Williamsburg. Oh. And if you look closely at the flag to the left, there's somebody a lot of you recognize.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, gee.
She's got the.
You don't know how to use the magic wand yet and get rid of it?
No, she's right next to me. After these many years, why bother?
That's a fun one.
Yeah, but that's a fun place to go visit. Very historic. And,
neat old structures.
It's good.
Yeah, neat old stuff. Fit right in. And this is the governor's palace, the front view of it.
Yeah.
Very nice.
That's pretty nice.
Very symmetrical.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this is something we went and saw in the middle of winter. Yellowstone Visitor Center
Park.
at
Yeah.
Old Faithful.
Yeah.
Boy, it's cold up there in the wintertime. Yeah.
It's not bad. You can dress for that.
Yeah, you can, I guess.
Yeah, get arrested for down here.
Michelle. Do we have Michelle here?
Oh, she's here. Michelle here?
You see, I don't, is she here?
I didn't see her name.
I don't see her here.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's a
well,
good silhouette.
Michelle probably, I'm not sure if she took this with the group went to Vicksburg, I think, didn't they? A couple of years ago. There was a group.
Yeah, 2 years ago. Yeah.
I love the way she has a starburst going right through. That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's nice.
Nice.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's pretty good.
Oh,
that's beautiful.
Oh, that's interesting.
Ooh.
Las Vegas.
Glass. I guess that's glass.
Yeah, that's glass.
Yeah, that's neat.
Pretty. There's a good structure.
Oh, I like that. Kill your parents. What's this? What did she go kind of finish? She did a kind of finish on that or something around the texture or something.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the way you used to rub a Polaroid with a pen or something, and you could get all these colors to come out of the ink. You know, the Polaroid conversion, they used to call it. Yeah, it's a beautiful picture, very artistic.
Yeah, so you're saying that before it dried off and stuff, you'd rub it a little bit?
Yeah, in the old days when you shot a color like with an SX70, well, not the more recent old days of before Polaroid went kind of under, and if you used a dull object like the back of a pen, you could rub the inks and you could get all these beautiful things to come out, you know. So it was kind of an artsy thing that some people did. Yeah, but it's very nice.
Yeah, that's. I wonder if she did that. Okay, Terralingua here.
Hey. Oh.
Nice. That's a structure, of course. Yeah.
Yes, nice structure. Like that.
We could do a better job in the sky, right, Chris?
Well, I'm going to leave it up to the person who saw it. It's their interpretation.
Pam Walton.
Okay. All right. This is a nice structure. This is man-made structure. It's out there near Sedona. It's Montezuma's Castle. But it was made many years ago. It's an old structure. Okay. We are now in Germany. This is a neat structure. I will take pictures of any maypoles I can find. And that was a beautiful blue sky that day, and I loved it.
Yeah,
nice.
Oh, this is pretty.
Ooh,
That's
wonderful.
going up on the gondola near Neuschwanstein. So I was able to get the picture before we were in amongst the mountain there, and then you couldn't see it any longer. So, but I love that structure. That's just
That's
beautiful.
really cool.
That's a good angle.
Nice picture. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you've ever been to Mesa Verde National Park, this is the structure that's right there at the visitor center. It's called the Ancient Ones, and it's a bronze structure, if I recall. It's climbing up a cliff face, carrying a bundle of wood.
Interesting.
Very striking. But that was the sky that day. That was. I didn't have to substitute. That was good.
People pay good money for that sky.
Boy, that's Suzanne.
Yeah.
I've had dreams like this.
This is a building in Las Vegas. It's a Cleveland Clinic building for brain health. This was actually built, it opened in 2010, but it was commissioned, the groundbreaking was in 2007. It was a $70 million project that was funded by two individuals, Larry Ruvo, the Southern Wines and Spirits, and Bobby Baldwin, CEO of Mirage, the CEO of Mirage Resorts.
So
Both
this
of
is
their
how they would.
fathers had Alzheimer's, and this building is basically dedicated to their fathers.
Yeah.
Is that a Frank Gehry design?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
The inside of it is illuminated by 199 windows. I've seen pictures on the internet of this building at night, and it's illuminated. They'll illuminate it with different colored light bulbs inside at night, so you can take pictures of it. It is just gorgeous when it's illuminated by different lights.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Really unusual.
That is unusual, yeah.
Chris, you need to stay off the mushrooms.
Yeah.
And this structure is a sailboat in St. Thomas Harbor. The antique sailboat. I don't know anything about it other than it looked cool in the harbor.
Pretty.
Very pretty.
Oh.
This is the structure is the lighthouse, not the peninsula that it sits on. This is it's a 52-foot structure, and it was commissioned in 1913, of course, as a lighthouse. In 1927, on the first flight from the mainland U.S. to Hawaii, to Oahu, the airplane got basically lost. And it saw the beam from this lighthouse, and it circled this lighthouse all night long. And because they realized that that was the lighthouse on Kauai. And then in the morning, when it became light, they continued their flight into Oahu, which was about 100 miles away. So lighthouses not only work for ships and boats, it also works for aircrafts.
Wow.
Wow.
And it's a beautiful sight. Everyone takes this picture if they go to Kauai. So I have multiple pictures of this lighthouse.
It's nice.
Blackbeard's Castle. It's named Blackbeard's now is what most people know it as, but it was actually built as trying to find my notes here, in 1679 by the Danes as a watchtower to protect the harbor. And it was originally called Skitsborg, meaning protection castle. And it served as a vantage point for the Danish soldiers to spot enemy ships. And it is very cool when you see it in person. It's in 1679 for something like that to be built out of, it looks what appears to be the rocks and everything from the island. It was really cool looking.
Tim.
All right, make sure I'm unmuted. Yep. This is Ellis Island, right outside New York there. I'm glad I had a number of pictures to choose from. I'm kind of glad I didn't choose the New York skyline because Kathy's was really fantastic. But I really like the texture in the ceiling here. I went up high because there's a million people down below, but the two flags and the texture in the ceiling I thought was really fun. Had tons to choose from that day we went out there.
Yeah, you got that nice and symmetrical. Yeah, it's pretty.
Yeah, that's really neat.
Switching continents here. This is I think Pam showed one from Germany as well. This is right outside Berlin, or I guess it's in Berlin, the Charlottenburg Palace in Germany. I was out there on a business trip, and we conveniently had time one day to take a little riverboat tour upriver and then hike back, and we stopped right here. We didn't get to go inside, but they have an amazing garden around back as well. Just the colors are fantastic. That's the sky as it was that day. It was kind of weird and overcast.
Sky.
Yeah. We walked a lot that day, but I got a lot of great pictures out of it. So it was a very fun trip.
Oh, cool.
Back to the U.S. I'm sure you've all probably seen this before. That's Spaceship Earth in Epcot in Florida.
Yeah.
Just there one night and kind of playing with some higher ISOs. I think it's like 5,000. Not hideously high, but pretty high. Just love the random color reflections off of it. And yeah, geometric shape. So I took some votes from the wife and kids on which ones I should show here. So we've got quite a selection.
That is pretty.
Did you use a tripod for that one?
I did not. That was handheld.
Yeah.
I don't think any of the ones nope. Last one was on the tripod. The rest were all handheld.
That's great.
You go to the next one. This one was on a tripod. This is a Body Island, which is Outer Banks in North Carolina. We had gone out there, toured the lighthouse. I did the hike up to the top, got some neat scenic shots, but they were all during the day. So maybe I'll go back and re-edit those with some Luminar magic. But I came back
Oh,
the
nice
next. I
guy.
kind of figured out where I wanted to be. Looked at the app and came back the next morning and was rewarded with quite a cool sunrise that morning. And I was one of probably about 20 photographers out there trying to get some different angles. So,
Yeah.
Chuck, I know you're a lighthouse fan, so that one's for you.
That's beautiful. No, it is beautiful. I don't know if I've been to this one. Thanks.
I like the way everyone's having to justify their sky now.
Right, exactly. That was a real sky.
Oh, been there.
Okay, this is my wife playing Vanna White in front of the Trans-Alaska Pipeline. We were it's a pipeline of trend runs from Valdez, Alaska, up to Prudhoe Bay, and this is just north of Valdez. And so I was in the pipeline industry for most of my life, and we were up there. I was up there in business, so she came with me, and I caught her in front of this. And I like the geometric shapes and the way the pipeline goes off to the left. So I thought it was kind of great. It's an old picture. It's done with a point-and-shoot camera. It's not a pretty high-quality picture, but I just kind of like the way it looked.
That is cool.
Okay, and another temple. This is I can never pronounce the name. It's the Borobudur temple in Indonesia. It is the world's largest Buddhist temple, built in 1750 AD. And I liked it because the sun was to my back. It was probably like 2 p.m. in the afternoon, and because the temple itself has this dark stone tile, it was absorbing all the light, but the sunshine was just bouncing off this gold statue right in front of me. It just made it jump off the picture, so I thought it was quite dramatic.
It is. It is.
Okay, we've already had one picture of Santorini. I call this Villa Santorini. If you thought that this was a villa on the Greek island of Santorini, you'd be like most people, but it's not. It's actually a home in a third world country called Mozambique on the east side of Africa. But the owner, who reportedly is the second richest mining executive in all of Africa, built it has his family home, but he does rent it out occasionally. So my wife and I had a chance to rent this for a week. And so we had a chance to enjoy this home for a week out there. But I did like the architecture. I like the colors of the bluff. And if you look closely down in the lower left-hand rule of thirds, you can see the house manager. She's walking away. She just dropped us off on a boat. We were off to do some snorkeling that day, and so you can kind of get the perspective of the size of this house, and then you can also see the little steps going up that kind of allows a
Very
little
nice.
bit of lighting to bring you up there. So, and these are all real skies. I didn't fake any skies in any of my pictures.
See?
Could the club do a field trip there? I think we
It's
should
a beautiful
do a field-
place. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
very
we
hard to
should
get
do a
to.
field trip there.
Yeah, very hard to get to though.
See what you started, Chuck?
Yeah, no, I was going to say we have to put a new rule in. No more sky excuses or something.
Okay, the next picture, I took a little artistic license with the topic tonight. This is clearly the next one. You can go to the next one. With this one here, it's man-made. Whether you call it a structure or not, it's probably a little iffy. But I do like the picture. This, if you've ever been to the British Museum, you've probably seen this. This is the actual Rosetta Stone.
Yeah.
And when I took the picture, I managed to catch the reflection of these two patrons staring at the stone, and the reflection on the glass that protects it. You can kind of see the lettering move across their faces, and they're almost like they're floating. And so I thought that turned out to be quite a creative way to present the Rosetta Stone.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
Okay, I guess that's it now. This is the last slide, I believe. Next meeting's October 20th. Program is Storm Chasing by Jeremy. Looking forward to that. Boy, that picture, I wish the picture there was a little bit brighter, the one he's got there. That's an amazing picture. Anyways, Jeremy's going to talk about his experiences chasing storms. Share and Learn is, the weather outside is blank, blank, blank. So I guess that goes along with Jeremy's talk. And in November, it's Trees and Leaves. There's a lot of latitude on the subject of anything you want, close-ups, landscapes, winter, etc. Finally, thanks to all the volunteers who've kept the club going. And thank you, guys. I guess that's it for tonight.
Very nice.
Thanks.
Chuck, thank you for all you're doing for the club.
Thank you.
Oh, yes.
Thanks for everything.
Definitely. Yeah. Very good.
Thank you much, Chuck.
Right.
Thanks for all the additional things you
Thanks,
put
Chuck.
on the club website as well. Really,
I
really
hope
a lot of work. Yep.
I hope they're useful. And guys
Oh,
have
yeah.
suggestions for stuff out there. Okay, this is what keeps me going. I enjoy doing stuff. So.
And we appreciate it very
Yeah,
much.
we sure like it. Thank you.
Loving
Very
it.
nice.
Anyways,
Y'all join us for
Thanks
lunch
for the
tomorrow.
mask. That's great.
Yeah,
Well done.
lunch
Y'all come
meeting
to lunch
tomorrow.
tomorrow.
yeah, we have a lunch.
Tomorrow.
We do have a lunch. I'll be there for lunch. I mean, a lot of people may not be, but I'll be there.
Yeah, I'll be there.
And
Maybe
then,
a few.
and
Yeah,
then
I'll be
Thursday,
there.
we have a post-processing special interest group
We do. Kate.
meeting. Yeah.
We do. Yeah, we do. All right.
Bye,
Okay.
Bill.
Bye-bye.
Good night, everybody.
Hey, everybody. Good
Bye,
night.
everybody.
Good night.
Hey, guys. See you tomorrow.